The Memphis Grizzlies are garbage, and I have a lot to say about this. Gentlemen, it has been 5 games into the NBA season for just about most teams in the league, and I can already see a couple things that are starting to transpire. And something that I did not expect is the Memphis Grizzlies have been god-awful. They are currently 0-5. Today they play the Trailblazers, so maybe they'll get their first win. But they're 0-5 right now. Statistically, they're one of the worst offenses in the league, and I don't know what's going on. Now, I think we need to talk about the obvious. Of course, we have to talk about the fact that Ja Morant is still suspended. He's about 20 more games left to spend, so he's about 20% done with his suspension. And it's clear to me now that Memphis absolutely needs this guy. Do you remember a while back, I think it was in the 2022 season, when Ja got hurt towards the end of the year and the Memphis Grizzlies started to win more games? I think statistically they only lost like less than 5 games without Ja, and everyone was saying, oh, they don't need Ja Morant, or maybe they're better without Ja Morant. I just want to say that that was one of the dumbest fucking narratives that people genuinely tried to push. This team needs Ja Morant, and I don't know who thinks otherwise. Now, I think most people can agree that the Grizzlies are going to struggle without Ja Morant, but I don't think most people thought it was going to be this bad. My projection is that Memphis was going to be a little bit above 500, and that Ja Morant was going to come back and they were going to start winning enough games and probably be a 4 or 5 seed, and then they were going to, do their thing in the playoffs depending how good the team actually is. But I'm not going to lie to you, I don't even know if they're going to do that this year. Now, there are a couple other things we can chalk it up to. For example, Steven Adams is out for the rest of the year. Brandon Clark, one of the more underrated players on their team, is also still out. So trust me, at the beginning of the year when you have injuries, it's kind of hard to figure things out because this is a very weird group that's been put together. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys, 0-5, I don't think that's something that I really saw happening. And the teams they lost to, it just doesn't make sense to me that they're this bad. Like, they're losing to teams like the Jazz, who beat the shit out of them. They lost to the Wizards, and I know the Nuggets are a good team, they lost to them. The Pelicans are kind of interesting, but statistically, they're also just really bad on both ends of the floor. Currently, they are 29th in the NBA in point differential, they're 23rd in the league in defense, and they have the NBA's worst offense. Now look, I expected their offense to struggle. Did I think they were going to be the worst offense in the NBA? Fuck no. But let's face it, I knew not having Ja Morant was going to have their offense go down, especially because they're averaging about 102 points per 100 possessions. Like, I knew they were going to struggle, but I didn't think they were going to be this bad. I think what really shocked me the most was the fact that they're 23rd in the league in defense. I mean, obviously you have Jaren Jackson Jr., who just won Defensive Player of the Year. You just brought on Marcus Smart, someone who is known to be a pretty solid defender. That might be kind of underselling how good he is. Like, I get it, I know not having Steven Adams is going to hurt the defense a little bit, but I didn't think, again, it was going to be this bad. Also, to give you context how bad their offense truly is, the Jazz and the Washington Wizards are 2 of the bottom 4 defenses in the league, and the Grizzlies did poorly versus both of those teams. Now, I get it, we're only 5 games into the season, and I don't really like to overreact to certain things. It's why for the first couple weeks of the season, it's very hard for me to make videos, and I think a lot of NBA YouTubers can agree on that, because I'm not going to make a video about, oh, this team is 0-2, like, I can't talk about that. And if Memphis was like in these games competitively and their stats were kind of in the middle, then I probably wouldn't be talking about this. But statistically, the Grizzlies are set to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. Mind you, this isn't a team that is rebuilding. This is a team that was considered to be one of the top contenders in the West this year. Everybody knew they were going to struggle a little bit without Ja Morant, but this team has been piss poor to say the least. So let's answer the question, why is Memphis so damn bad, and is there any way they can fix what's going on? Real quick though, gentlemen, if you have not, make sure you guys leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. I'd very much appreciate it. Now, there are about 3 things that I can chalk this up to. The first thing, I think it's obvious, and that's Ja Morant. I'll say this for the millionth time, I knew they were going to struggle without Ja Morant, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I think the offense was meant to struggle because Ja Morant is a good scorer. Without Ja Morant, you're set to lose about 25 points per game. You're also losing a guy that commands a lot of attention, whether it's in the paint or the perimeter, and it also gives other opportunities to other players, to be able to be more open. But because Ja is gone, they can give more attention to guys like Desmond Bane, a guy who's been playing pretty solid, which I'm honestly happy for. I've always been a fan of him. Holy shit, I just realized bro's averaging 25 points per game. What the f? And as corny as this might sound, you're also losing the energy of Ja Morant. Having a guy like Ja on your team can bring a lot of energy, it can make everyone hype, and you don't really have your team leader with you. Also, because he's suspended, he can't attend any of the games. He can't even be in the arena. So you obviously lose that leadership from a guy like Ja. I mean, this man cannot do shit right now, and I mean, it's his fault. He did something stupid. He got suspended for 25 games. But I think it's very obvious this team is going to struggle without Ja. But that's like the most obvious reason. I could literally talk about this for 10 minutes and drag it out, but of course I'm not going to do that. I think the second reason is the way this team is set up. Offensively, they only have a couple guys that I think are really good on the offensive side, and I'm talking with Ja. Of course, Ja Morant's a great offensive player, but Desmond Bane, he's also a great offensive player. I don't know if when Ja comes back, he's going to consistently average 25 points per game. I mean, if he could, that'd be fucking amazing, but I don't know if that's going to happen. JJJ has been very interesting from the offensive side of the ball. I will say he's had a couple good games here and there, and by that I mean a 30-point game in Dallas. But versus Utah and Washington, mind you, two of the worst defenses in the league, this man had some of the worst shooting I think I've seen from this man. Marcus Smart has been okay, but honestly, I don't think long term he's going to be a guy that you can rely on from the offensive side of the ball. What he's been known for is his defense, and that's also a problem that we have to address. But trust me, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Overall though, I just don't like the roster. I just don't really think this is a team that is meant to win right now. Now, something Memphis has been known for is having an okay offense, but having a great defense. However, you cannot win in the NBA with a below average offense and a below average defense. That's probably why they're losing as many games as they are. And if we want to talk about their defense being bad, well, there are a couple things we can chalk it up to. For one, Steven Adams. It's a pretty obvious one, but Steven Adams is a great interior presence. I didn't really talk about him on the offensive side of the video because there was just no reason to. You don't really know Steven Adams for his offense, but we mostly know him for his interior defense. I know they still have the current defensive player of the year, but I would love to see a front court that does have Jaren Jackson Jr. and Steven Adams at the same time. But unfortunately for the Grizzlies, that's not the world we live in. But the good news is the Grizzlies are trying to do something about that, which is why not too long ago they signed Bismack Biyombo. Now, is Biyombo going to be this crazy interior defense that changes the entire game? Well, no. But he's honestly a great big to have off the bench, and as a Suns fan, I can 100% vouch for him. Now, let me ask two questions. Number one, is there anything else that Memphis should do, whether it's trading or signing guys to fix the roster? I heard a couple people say they should try to trade for Zach LaVine, but honestly, it makes no sense to me. LaVine is just a pure scorer, and while I don't think Memphis would mind having a pure scorer, I don't see a roster working with Ja Morant, Zach LaVine, and Desmond Bane, because I'm assuming this is going to be a trade that has to involve a guy like Desmond Bane. And if the Grizzlies trade Desmond Bane, I think that's going to be a move they regret for quite some time. But to be honest, I'm not even going to take that trade offer too seriously. But I think the number one question we have to ask is this something the Grizzlies can fix? Are the Grizzlies going to suck until Ja Morant comes back? And even when Ja does come back, I imagine he's going to be, a little bit rusty. But when Ja comes back and the whole team is back in the swing of things, is this team going to be able to be good, when they need to be? Statistically, as bad as they are, I do not expect this team to be 0-25, have the worst offense in the league, and have a bottom 10 defense. I do think they're slowly going to fix their problems, and I do think by the time Ja Morant comes back, they'll be kind of in the middle, in the 15 to 20 range on both sides of the ball. But when Ja Morant's 25 games are up, and if they have less than 10 wins, I do think there should be cause for concern. But as a team that is projected to be one of the more better teams in the West, I just don't think that's going to be the case. I'll say it again, I think they're going to be kind of in the 500 range by the time Ja comes back. I think they're literally just going to be statistically mid. Now, do I think Ja Morant is going to save this team and they're going to win like 20 straight games and they're going to be one of the more better teams in the West? I honestly don't know. Me personally, I'm going to say no, but you never really know. The NBA is one hell of a fucking league. And one of the ways we can acknowledge that is the fact that James Harden got traded to the Clippers. I'm just as shocked as you are. If you guys want to see my full breakdown of the trade, click the video on the screen right here. And really quick, before the video does end, I actually want to acknowledge something that happened a couple days ago. Bobby Knight, arguably one of the greatest college coaches of all time, died. So I just want to say real quick, rest in peace to Bobby Knight. He is, again, one of the greatest college coaches of all time and one of the toughest motherfuckers I've ever seen. So on that note, rest in peace, Mr. Knight.
When my time on earth is gone and my activities here are past, I want they bury me upside down and my critics can kiss my